Hi guys, so I thought I'd give you a little bit of a hobby update from my desk. I'm trying to start an IRONJAWZ army. I've got the bases and these are the first couple of models, so I've had quite a difficult time assembling these. I've used a product that I've not used that much before, below plastic putty as a way to try and fill in the gaps. Kind of experimented with that. This guy's got some pretty brutal joining points that kind of recessed in fur and stuff like that. I'm not a fan of that type of thing, but I've done my best to fix it. So thinking assembly wise with these, all of the optional panels, so these side ones, and this top one, they've been glued on but not very well, and the idea is that I can pull them off if that makes it easier for painting separately. But what I will do is the entire model will be primed and hopefully base coated together, because then I don't end up, if I do pull them off, I don't end up painting something that's going to be completely hidden later. He's really cool. I've chosen a nice difficult model for a test paint job, and then a slightly easier one with this guy. You've just seen some skulls fall off his base, so he's the same. I've glued this on but not very well, and I might pull that off again before painting. Try to assemble these to a pretty high standard. It's going to be an elite army, and I think I'm going to go for a fairly high level paint job. Not too sure though. Thought I would show you a couple of things that I do when I'm trying to work out bases. So I've got, let's see if I can switch. There you go. Zoom in a little bit more. I've got space here that I've hacked away on his base. This guy was just looking a bit blank. I've dropped on a bit of slate, but especially as he's a character, I thought it was worth giving him a slightly prettier base. So I've got a couple of the Citadel skulls. I scraped them off, and then importantly, hopefully you can tell on the back of this one, I've cut it at a pretty extreme angle. So that should allow me to place it more like it is. It's embedded within that clay or mud or whatever it is. And then see if I can put his bro next to him. It's going to be quite a squeeze, but we'll work it out. I might have to hack away a bit more, but this type of detail is really important for basing, and particularly if you're going for something dark or something that you just want some contrast on, having an opportunity to put a bleached white skull in there is really big. So I'm going to do that on him, and these are going to be my first two test models. Another thing, just to look around my desk, see what else I've got going on. So some paint racks. Hi Les. Look at him. And over here, I can see stuff I'm working on for Artis Opus or have worked on. And one thing I do is when I'm smashing my way through Agrellan earth, I actually cycle through pots. So this has got some water and some thinner in it. These have got some water and some thinner in it. And then I basically just rotate them and wipe them out with a piece of tissue paper and repurpose them. So this one here is my little pot of skulls. They're all prepped, and I have various basing materials in them. It's just a useful way to be able to have something on the desk that is small. I mean, obviously look at the size of the Citadel skulls thing. Particularly if you're prepping one, you may as well prep a fair few, and then I've got those available for a future date. So if any of you have any questions about how I'm going about the army, then please do let me know. I'm going to be trying to do something funky with a color wheel. Current thinking is basically that I'm going to be doing something kind of, I'd like a deep jade green skin, maybe with a little bit of blue in it, and then I will have orange rusty sections on a deep blue violet armor. So I've got a load of favorite colors which you've probably seen me using before if you've seen any of my painting, but Huldra Blue from Scale 75 is a real favorite, and kind of with that as a base, that will allow me to have a really beautiful area to put down orange contrast on top of. I'm not so sure what I'm going to do with the color of the basing or the color of the weapons, or the color of the boars. They're quite busy models, the IRONJAWZ, in terms of lots of large areas which could have different color. So I could pick something neutral. Or I had an interesting suggestion from a mate Jay, and he said that I could try out albino mounts. So the Cabbage is obviously one of Games Workshop's TM gorgeous paint schemes is on that. I think it's white fading into green at the edges onto Gordrak's mount, or one of the Mega Boss's mounts, the Maw Crusher. And the nice thing about that is it would probably contrast with whatever I do on the base. Unless you're doing snow basing, albino mounts would be a really good way to do that. And you can put an undercoat or like a base layer under white of whatever you want. So they could be cool blue, they could be a warm brown, like a rusty brown to kind of fit with my orange. They could be anything. I'm still trying to figure that out, but I don't know how any of this is going to work. So I'm going to prime these guys up once I finish this guy's base. And then what I'll probably do is I'll just do a really thin first go just putting some blobs of colour down with the airbrush and basically see how things look. Even if I go over it entirely again in the future, or I'm planning on, like, if I plan on stippling the armour rather than airbrushing it in the final job or something like that, it's still a way to put colours down and just see how they look on a model. Obviously it's different when something's been repeated over like many models, but yeah, I'm hoping to be able to come up with something pretty funky, and I'd like to do these to a high standard, as I've mentioned. One of the difficult things about IRONJAWZ, and poor Chris Tomlin, I remember him speaking about these guys a while ago, there's a lot of stuff that gets in the way of you painting things but doesn't fully cover it. So for example here, like, I'm gonna have to paint this guy's chest, but I can't get at it. So again, I've made these pieces so I could pull them off after priming. I'm not sure how other people have approached that, and it's probably just with a great deal of patience. I know Ian Gilmore's got some extremely gorgeous high standard IRONJAWZ, and I think he's probably just glued it all together then painted around it, but it definitely won't make my life any easier. So that's the idea anyway. As you can see here, I'm using Agrellan Earth on the bases. Really pleased with how much I've managed to kind of accurately predict how that is going to work. Big chunks, and then the important thing when you're doing stuff like this so they don't get dry washed off at the end is they've literally been monitor and varnished like 4 or 5 times, these bases. That has another secondary effect. I can show you here because I need to dig some of this out. It makes your cork pretty indestructible. Now I love working with cork, it's extremely pliant and flexible, but it can be flaky. Now obviously this dry stuff under here is flaky, but these areas here, get another tool and give them a proper prod, they're like hard, spongy and super resilient. So hopefully, as this is a gaming army, even thin edges like this one here, it doesn't matter how much it gets touched or picked up, that should be pretty resilient, and that's just a nice secondary effect. But yeah, it's a lovely material to work with, basically because nothing's permanent. So I've built this base, then I've realized that I'd like some more detail there, can scrape through the layers of protection that I've put over it, through the varnish, just dig it out, and then I'll have room to pop my skull in. All right, any questions you have, I'm super happy to answer. I'm hoping to get these guys done at a high level. I don't get much time to paint for myself, so we'll see how long it takes to kind of get to a spot like that, but I would love some inspiration. So currently, what is looking to be in the list is going to be 1 or 2 more crushers, a unit of pigs, so 6 pigs, then maybe a unit of 3 pigs, unit of 5 brutes, which I'm really looking forward to painting. I just love those models, everything about them. And then a selection of little characters, so maybe a war chanter, a weird knob shaman, who of course has the gorgeous kind of billowing smoky stuff, and maybe a fungoid shaman allied in. I've been assembling him. He's quite a busy little model. I don't know how he's going to look next to all the chunky goodness of the IRONJAWZ. It doesn't quite fit with my theme fantastically. But yeah, I'm not sure how to go in terms of the darkness of the models either. Like, do I want to cover their base in skulls and skeleton pieces, or like blood splashes, or anything like that? I even went as far as to get out of a cupboard or an old bookshelf, one of the first Warhammer books I got. I had, my first edition was the one before this with the great big orc in it, but this thing is full of some of my, like, that was the cover of the one that I got. This thing was full of some of my favorite inspiration ever. It's also got my absolutely top GW illustration that has ever been. Where's he gone? I'm sure Nazgob's in here somewhere. But yeah, this is a really good source of inspiration, and I don't know if I'm gonna, that's one of my favorite pieces of artwork, look at that, so good. I don't know if I'm gonna ally any trolls in or anything like that, but it's a gorgeous book. That original Grimgore sketch, these are all the things that I saw when I was a child and was just like overjoyed with. There's also, look at that, it's my favorite drawing from Games Workshop ever. I think that is Nazgob the Shaman. Yeah, I've gone in here just to see if I can read up on any inspiration. There's some old colour schemes and stuff like that. I mean, shows how much their photography and painting has come on in years. Like, I could achieve maybe some of these paint jobs nearly, and these days their paint jobs are untouchable. But I'm going to go in and see if I can read about the Badlands or anywhere like that, find some fluff, and if there's anything useful there at all for me to be able to kind of work out a direction for the list, an army or thematically, that will be really, really helpful, because as soon as you got something to focus on, like, I don't know, my bases are all covered in skulls and everyone's covered in blood, it just makes everything way easier. Whereas even if I've got some colors, I don't know, like, are my guys going to be super dusty? Are they going to be super shiny? Are they super weathered? Is there a lot of white on the models? Am I going to do lots of freehand? All of that type of stuff is currently entirely up for discussion. So I would really appreciate your feedback. If you want to ask any questions about the desk setup at all, or anything like that, I don't have a particularly big area to do my hobbying in. Airbrush, little painting square. So my paint's got plenty more in drawers and then plenty more around where I don't have space in cupboards and things. Sets of brushes, and then kind of all of my glues and some work in progress stuff in there. And I also have some hobby inspiration. If you know, you know. Best books ever. And some turquoise stuff. And also one of my favourite films there. So I work in a small little square of inspiration and try to come up with some good stuff from it. I would appreciate any of your suggestions, feedback, comments, sources of inspiration artwork. Like, just say, this is my favourite artist and he uses colours that I think would work well on your army. Something like that. Pop it through. I would love to see it. All right, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully there will be some more of these army diaries for you in the future.